All right, finance students, we're moving on to Chapter 8 here. Chapter 8 is called the stock market. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead and download the notes for Chapter 8, the notes and the homework. They're all in one document. Normally in class, iPad students would download them. Everybody else would receive a giant packet. So you can print this out if you want, or you can find some way to take notes on it, but it is in Google Class. So go ahead and pause the video and go get that first. All right, so we're starting with a business organization. First definition, we normally look at the book and take these in class, but you're just going to take them on here. So, is the money used to start or expand a business? If you're in any type of business, you're going to need some money to start. Maybe you're starting a restaurant, whatever it is. You need to buy the ovens, the stoves, the silverware, all of that stuff. A business owned by one person is a sole proprietorship. Profit is the money left after all expenses are paid. The owner is personally liable for any losses, even if the business does not make a profit. So if you put in all your money and the business fails, you would lose that money. So a business that is owned by a group of people called partners is a partnership. The partners are personally liable for any losses. Okay, personal liability may require risking personal property. Okay, what does that mean? Well, let's say you buy a bunch of stuff for the restaurant that we were talking about there, and the restaurant doesn't work out. Well, the property that you have, they can come and take that property, okay, because that's part of the debt that you owe, or other things, okay, that you own. Some people you may, we'll talk about those later, actually. All right, corporations. So moving on to corporations. So a corporation is a business organization that can be owned by one person or a group of people. Each owner who invests money in the corporation receives shares of stock. So you invest money, you receive shares of stock. The owners are called shareholders. Okay, stock certificates are used as proof of ownership. Okay, unlike sole proprietorships and partnerships, the shareholders in a corporation have limited liability. Okay, so you buy stock in Tesla or whatever it is. You lose money in Tesla. Okay, nobody can come after you and take your car. That's what limited liability means. You can only lose the money that you have invested. Okay, each owner cannot lose more than the value of his or her share of the business. When all the shares are owned solely by a few individuals and are not available for sale to the public, it's just the owners own the shares and that's it, the corporation is a private corporation. Okay, also known as a privately held corporation. All right, so catch up on the notes there. And the other case, if it's not private, it's going to be public. Okay, and when shares can be, let's see what we have to put here. When anyone. So when anyone can purchase or buy stock in a corporation. The corporation is a public corporation. All right, so a lengthy amount of vocabulary there. Let's do a couple problems. So Michelle invests $15,000 in a partnership that has 4 other partners. The total of the investment is $240,000. What percent of the business does Michelle own? So she puts only in $15,000. I say only. She puts in $15,000, and there's $240,000 total invested in the business. So what percent does she own? We just divide those. So we can get a calculator. 15,000 divided by 240,000. So she owns 6.25%. So 0.0625 would be 6.25%. All right, do the check your understanding problem there. Pause the video if you need to. So Kyle invests $20,000, has 5 other partners. The total investment is $160,000. What percent is owned by the 5 others? So now it's asking kind of the reverse. So the 5 others, if Kyle owns $20,000, that means the 5 others own or put in $140,000. So that's $140,000 divided by $160,000. And if we wanted to keep this simple, we can chop off a bunch of zeros here, and we can just do 14 divided by 16. And I get 80.875. We always have to convert percents to decimals. Okay, so I'll convert this. So this is going to be 87.5%. Okay, example number 2. Last example here for the notes, and we'll continue on next time. So the total number of shares of stock in Bowles Corp is 650,000. Mike owns 12% of the shares. How many shares does he own? Well, there's 650,000. He owns 12%. We're going to convert that to a decimal, and we're going to do the math here. So 650,000 times 0.12. So he owns 78,000 shares. All right, Jillian, try this one. So Jillian owns 60%. There are 1,200 shares in the entire corporation. How many shares does Jillian own? So if there's 1,200 in the entire corporation, and she owns 60% of those, we just do 1,200 times 0.6, and we get 720. All right, so just have those 2 things to think about. I also want you to think about some stocks that you might consider investing in for the next couple weeks, because that's our next assignment coming up on Friday.